New World Screwworm. I have been talking about it. You've been hearing about it. What is it? Why is it a threat? We're going to dive right into this one. Crew, let's ranch it up. Good day, everyone, and thanks for riding with us on this all-new episode of the Ranch It Up Radio Show. I'm Jeff Tigger Earhart. A big thank you goes out to our partners, ranchchannel.com. We have new listings and new sales and new sale reports on ranchchannel.com as we speak. Jorgensen Land and Cattle, Transova Genetics, Clear Springs Cattle Company bringing us their annual Bred for Balance sale. It's coming up on Valentine's Day. For more information, just head to ranchchannel.com and bredforbalance.com. Axiota Animal Health bringing us Multimin and Lactopro. The American Gelbvieh Association. Imogene Ingredients bringing us Farmatan, Westway Feed Products, Medora Boot and Western Wear, Allied Genetic Resources and Allied Feeding Partners, LivestockMarket.com, EquineMarket.com, AuctionTime.com, the Tri-State Livestock News, RFD TV, Wrangler, and this fine radio station.
Cattle Battle.
We're jumping right into the weeds on this one. New World Screwworm. We've talked a lot about it in the news. What is it? What does it mean? What could it mean for the U.S. cattle industry? We bring in Dr. Harold Newcomb, a technical services veterinarian with Merck Animal Health on this one. Hey, Doc, it's good to have you back on the program. Kind of just recapping here on this deal. The actual date was November 22nd, last year, 2024. When a New World Screwworm was detected near Mexico's southern border. And I just want to talk a little bit about this, about what New World Screwworm actually is and kind of what the threat is. I know that it does pose a significant risk to cattle health, but what exactly is the New World Screwworm? What is that?
Well, the New World Screwworm is actually just a fly larva. Okay, I mean it's the pupae, or basically what you and I would call the maggot. Okay, the difference in this deal is with the New World Screwworm, it likes living flesh. Where most of the time when you see an infestation of maggots, it's going to be on dead or dying tissue. The New World Screwworm can actually It actually likes fresh living tissue, and those flies will lay their eggs like on newborn calves on the navel, but they can also lay it into the mucous membranes, like around the nose or the face, the eye. And so you can get screwworm in the eye, nose, any place that has exposed mucous membranes, you can get a screwworm infestation. Okay. The deal with this is once that egg is laid there and then it pupates or hatches and becomes a larva or maggot, then it's going to stay in that animal for about 5 to 7 days, and then it will come back out. But if you disturb it, it just steadily bores deeper and deeper, and sometimes you can actually get death from these things. Okay, so I mean it's a major issue, and if you start looking at the economic impact in places that have it, it's in the billions of dollars. And that's what we'd be afraid of in this country, would be the economic impact of this thing. There's several chemicals out there that will kill it, but you got to eradicate the fly. And what the government has done, they've cooperated with Mexico and several of the other South American countries, and in particular Panama, and they've set up a barrier zone. And what they've done is they irradiate these screwworm flies, and they turn them out. They make them sterile, and they're sterilizing the males. The males breed with the females, but the eggs don't hatch. And that's the way they've controlled this.
So we have talked several times about flies, about fly control, about identifying different flies. And so is this an actual screwworm fly, or is this something from your stable fly, your horn fly?
No. This is actually a screwworm fly.
It is a screwworm fly. Okay, and that is something that is native to Mexico and some of those other southern countries. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's endemic down in South America. And then it's also, you have it over in the Caribbean as well.
And when go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, we had a little outbreak of screwworm. I think it was back in 2016 down in Florida, in the Florida Keys. And it took them about a year to get those things, to get it eradicated down there. And they did that with a sterilization deal of the flies and releasing those flies.
So this screwworm fly, I'm assuming that there's kind of a line maybe in the United States where it wouldn't go past per se just based on winter type climate. Is that correct? That it tends to it likes the warmer, more humid climate, even though a lot of people, everybody in the South is getting snow as we speak and it's cold. But is that correct? That is the climate, the habitat of the screwworm fly?
Well, yeah, I would say so. But what you have to understand though is that the way animals move, you could have it in Texas and you could have it in North Dakota the next day.
Right. Yeah. True that.
Okay. And then the other thing that I think people need to understand, it's not just restricting the movement of the cattle that's going to help this deal, but what are you going to do with the livestock? I mean, not the livestock, but the wildlife.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even consider that one, Doc.
Yeah. I mean, think about how many wild mammals come across that river down there undetected and uninspected.
So of what we have right now for insecticides, for pesticides, for fly control, and you and I have talked a lot about them. We've talked of various different ones. We've talked everything about ear tags and changing your chemistry, and if you're going from pyrethroids to a different kind of tag and all of these different things. And you and I have talked about that over the years of different strategies. So if this would happen to show up in the United States, do we have the chemistry available right now to be able to attack it?
We have some of them. Yeah. I mean, the chemicals that work like on horn flies and this type thing should work on screwworms. Okay. But the trouble is that screwworm is that larva is going to be in the animal. So how you can get it out of the animal? Well, right now, the biggest thing that they could use would be ivermectin. Mm-hmm. But I mean, once you get the screwworm in the animal, it's kind of like the ship has left the dock, right? I mean, prevention is what you want to do. And if you look back through history of the screwworm in the United States, I mean, we had it, but it was eradicated, I think, back in 1966. And the way they eradicated the thing was basically just through this irradiation of the male flies, the sterilization of the male flies, and then they would turn those things loose into the environment. And that's the way you're going to eradicate it. And there is a buffer zone down there in Panama that was breached, and that's the way it got into Mexico. But they do a buffer zone down there where they release these flies on a continual type basis. And that's what keeps them down south.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more on the New World Screwworm with Dr. Harold Newcomb with Merck Animal Health. Keep it locked to the Ranch It Up Radio Show. Premium Simmental and Sim Angus genetics from Clear Springs Cattle Company. Their annual Bred for Balance production sale February 14th, Valentine's Day in Starbuck, Minnesota. Selling 130 bulls, 60 females, an elite donor, and 5 fabulous heifers.
Travis Wolf here with Clear Springs Cattle Company. Bulls carry a 3-year breeding soundness warranty, and cost share trucking is available on all cattle. If you're in the market for profitable beef genetics that can move your herd in the right direction, be sure to join us in Starbuck.
Head to bredforbalance.com and ranchchannel.com for all sale information. ranchchannel.com, bull sales, western events, product information, and more right at your fingertips on the ultimate cowboy-friendly platform. Want to follow up-to-date markets? Head to ranchchannel.com. No need to dig for information on all these different websites. It's all right there on ranchchannel.com.
We run a lot of high milk-producing mama cows in our herd.
Mitch Kenobi of Norfolk dealt with scours in his herd.
So bad that we sent samples off to South Dakota State and Kansas State. Heard about Farmatan. As a producer, I know it's our job to limit our inputs, but when it comes to Farmatan, Dad and I don't blink an eye. It is a must for every calving season.
Adding Farmatan to your livestock's nutrition this fall will rid your new herd of scours in the spring. Go to FarmatanUSA.com.
Why not give Gelbvieh and Balancer bulls a try this year? Raise replacement females with added fertility, increased longevity, and greater productivity. Get increased performance, improved feed efficiency, and increase the carcass merit. Maximize crossbreeding with Gelbvieh and Balancer. Welcome back to the Ranch It Up Radio Show, the most information packed into a 30-minute program that you can find. It's your all things ranching newscast, and so glad to be hanging out with y'all. Questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, rants, it doesn't matter. Give us a call at 707-RANCH-20. You can text us there as well, 707-RANCH-20. That's 707-726-2420. Email is ranchitupshow@gmail.com. Prowling around social media at Ranch It Up Show. New World Screwworm. We're talking with Dr. Harold Newcomb, a technical services veterinarian with Merck Animal Health. So here we are in January, and the last thing on everybody's mind is flies, right? I mean, it really is. As producers, I mean, that's the last thing that we're thinking about. But in light of what's going on, and we've shared multiple reports when they come out about New World Screwworm, and even how Mexican feeder cattle starting to slowly come back into the United States. With something like this, of what you're telling me, there are red flags going up everywhere right now in my office. So really, producers, even now, I mean, before those little baby calves are even on the ground for a lot of guys, we need to start to be thinking about some fly control and prevention, because that's the thing that you and I have talked about many times. I mean, by the time you got a pile of flies, your problem is already there. We have to think about prevention. So let's talk strategies a little bit of going into the spring, of really people understanding that, you know, this was a problem in Mexico, and what you're telling us, this is a nasty little bugger. So how can we prevent something like this happening? And inadvertently, we're gonna be helping ourselves anyway in terms of fly control.
Well, I think on this one, this is a little bit different deal, okay? Because it's not really going to be something you can do to prevent, okay? This is going to be making sure that the animals coming in, imported, have been properly checked and vetted, okay? And like I said, if we have a problem with it, it's probably going to come in through the wildlife. I mean, think down there on that Mexican border with Texas, the Nia guy, right? So, I mean, the best thing that I would know to tell someone would be, one, to keep good close check on their animals. Okay, of course, to do that. You know, if we're looking at fly control for like horn flies and that type thing, you know, that's a different deal. There's different things that we can feed to get ahead of the fly larva or the fly infestation to keep them down. But this is going to be a little bit different deal.
So this one has definitely gotten on the radar of the USDA in many, many, many different ways, is what you're telling me. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They have spent millions, if not billions of dollars trying to eradicate this thing. I mean, if it got loose in the United States, you would see areas quarantined.
Oh, wow.
It would just basically stop commerce as far as livestock goes.
Wow.
Okay. Like say it happened in the state of Mississippi, Alabama, one of the southeastern states, you would probably see that state and every state that borders it have to be livestock movement restrictions. Okay. And then there would be things in place that where they were checked, they would have to wait so long before they could move. They might have to be treated. They would be treated with something probably like an ivermectin type compound. There's several other insecticides that will work, but I mean, that's basically what we'd be looking at. I mean, it would disrupt commerce tremendously. So if you think about how many stocker calves or feeder calves come out of the Southeast every day.
Right.
Feedlots.
Right. So not trying to scare anybody, not trying to create a doomsday scenario or anything like that, but just for people to be aware, because this has been hitting the news here ever since, like I said, November 22nd. It's there's been updates every few weeks on what's going on, just like the most recent update where they're going to be starting to move some of these Mexican feeder cattle into the United States. So I think the takeaway, if I'm understanding right, Doc, is that we just need to be vigilant of monitoring our livestock, paying very, very a lot of attention to situational awareness is what I call it. Those little subtle changes in livestock, and to even monitor your wildlife of what's around the place. If you see anything that just isn't quite right, am I kind of understanding that? That's maybe the best thing to do is just keep your eyes open. And if there is anything that is of any question, get a hold of your local veterinarian immediately.
Yeah. In other words, if you start seeing wounds on cattle that don't make sense, or you see draining wounds on like deer or other wildlife that doesn't make sense, that you don't understand, then you probably ought to contact somebody, especially if you live close to the border. Okay.
But right now, we've got people that like the USDA taking care of this. We've had different eradication programs. So right now, it is not a cause for alarm. It is a cause for people to be aware of what's happening and to pay attention.
That's correct. I mean, a producer really can't do a whole lot more now than just observe the animals and be aware of what the situation is and going on. So, I mean, they should keep updated with whatever APHIS is coming out with or the USDA is. But the government is on high alert with this deal. Okay, and they're making a concerted effort to keep that screwworm fly down south and out of the United States. They don't want it just south. They want it below Panama. Okay. On anything to do with parasite control, understand that it's management. Okay. And that's what this is going to be is a management deal. Okay. You can have all the drugs in the world. You can have all the new wonder dust and all this other stuff. But still, when it comes down to animals and diseases and insects or parasites, all of it boils back down into management and using what we have properly.
You know, isn't it funny how so many things, it just comes down to just basic animal husbandry, right? I mean, it really does. I mean, so much starts with just animal husbandry.
I mean, that's it. I mean, if you could package and sell management in a bottle, we'd all be rich, wouldn't we?
Right, exactly. You got it, Doc. Dr. Harold Newcomb, Technical Services Veterinarian with Merck Animal Health. Thank you so much for the time and really explaining the severity of New World Screwworm and reminding all of us that so many of these issues that we face in the beef business can potentially be controlled with just basic management. Cow country news, you know, the cow stuff. And now stories that make you question what our dollars are going towards, or at least in my opinion anyway. Listen to this one. AI. We've all heard about artificial intelligence. Researchers are considering using generative artificial intelligence, or AI, protocols in order to develop new solutions to reduce methane emissions in cows. Cow farts. You hear this one? A team of scientists at USDA's Agricultural Research Service Livestock Nutrient Management Research Unit and the Department of Chemical and Biological Engineering at Iowa State University are using AI to sift through large computational models to develop new approaches to manage methane emissions in cows. Now, the current focus involves the discovery of a group of compound molecules that can inhibit methane production in the largest of the cow's 4 stomach compartments, the rumen. One effective molecule has been proven to reduce methane production by up to 98% and is naturally found in seaweed. Now, AI is expected to help the scientists find molecules that have similar potential to inhibit methane and eliminate the time-consuming and expensive challenges the researchers would face in the hunt for similar molecules that are safer to use, they say. AI also may fast-forward the laboratory research process and possibly address the potential costs of launching additional research, according to the scientists. So there you go, our dollars being put at use for AI to make sure that cows don't fart as much. And with that, y'all, don't you think it's a great time to take a commercial break? The Ranch It Up Radio Show will be back. Attention cattle producers. Boost your herd's trace mineral status with Axiota Animal Health's Multi-Min 90. This injectable solution delivers essential trace minerals known to support cattle health and reproduction. Don't settle for less when it comes to your herd health. Trust Axiota Animal Health to keep your cattle in prime condition. Visit your local supplier or veterinarian to learn more about Multi-Min 90. Multi-Min 90, because healthy cattle mean a healthy bottom line.
LivestockMarket.com. We hear from the crew at LivestockMarket.com every week. Bulls, cows, bred heifers, open replacement heifers, cow-calf pairs, feeders, and stockers, horses, pigs, goats, sheep, show stock, hay and straw, and even alpacas, all listed on LivestockMarket.com. Private treaty, online auctions, and on-site auctions. Buying or selling, gauge the market, do some research. Check out LivestockMarket.com.
And don't forget, they brought you AuctionTime.com and EquineMarket.com.
Increase herd performance, complement your forages, get more cows bred. It's upcycling and efficiency, powered by Westway Feed Products. At Westway Feed Products, we create cow herd efficiency one lick at a time.
At Allied Genetic Resources, it's all about commercial customer success.
We see that charge, we understand that charge, and we're going to use all the tools we can to get there.
To maximize heterosis, purchase your next herd sire from an Allied Genetic Resources partner. Just head to AlliedGeneticResources.com. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ranch It Up Radio Show. That time in the program, we check in with Kirk Donsback, Stone X Financial Incorporated. Everybody knows it. I do it verbatim each and every week. Kirk, numbers, how you doing? What's going on?
Well, good morning, Tigger, and all your listeners out there, and what a fun week to be selling cattle this week. As of Friday, January 10th, March feeder futures closed at $269.45. That's up $5.42.5 on the week, with the CME feeder index up $12.79 at $278.55. That's $278.55 cash. The basis was a positive $6.59 versus January futures and positive $9.10 versus March futures. So futures are not keeping up with the cash market right now. February live cattle closed the week at $198.82.5. That's up $4.80 on the week, with cash trading 2 to 201 in the south and 203 to 205 in the north. That left the 5-area weighted average $5.81 higher at 202.61. So the national average was 202. That's something else. That left the basis versus February futures at positive $3.83.5. The weekly slaughter was 589,000 head. That's up 83,000 head versus last week, and 44,000 head larger than the same week last year. Now, those numbers are pretty large, but if we take into account the small numbers the week before, our yearly slaughter is still 20% less than this time last year. Choice boxes closed the week up $7.60 at $332.84. To wrap this up, March corn closed the week at $4.71. That's up 20 cents on the week. The USDA released its Indian grain stocks on Friday with a cut of 4 bushels an acre off of the national yield. That produced a sharp rally in corn after the report.
A scientist and a policymaker walk into a room. What conversations do they have? If you guessed ones about meat's role in society, you are correct. Hey, I'm Shaye Wanner, and I'm the host of the Casual Cattle Conversations podcast. I interviewed Keith Belk about the conversations facilitated at the 2024 International Summit. Here's a snapshot of our conversation.
There's people around the world that they're agenda-driven. They believe that their value systems are correct and nobody else is correct, and it's their role in life to convince others of how they should live their lives. And we're facing a huge onslaught of that type of pushback on livestock and meat production that needs to be countered with what the facts really are. And it's really important that we are able to disseminate those facts in a meaningful way so that those that are involved in policy development or even consumers at large can have access to that information and understand what it means. And so that's the conversation we had. And I don't know that we solved any problems about the best way to communicate those things. It's very hard. Scientists are not very good at it. But we had a lot of conversation about it. And I think you'll see some positive things come out of the meeting as people begin to take action regarding how best to inform society about those scientific issues.
Listen to the full story by searching for Casual Cattle Conversations on your favorite podcast player. Happy ranching, folks.
I tip my hat to you from one legend to another.
And before we say fare thee well, we want to give a big old tip of the hat and a shout out to all of you that may be heading to the National Western Stock Show in Denver. Maybe you're coming back. Maybe you were there already. Beck and I are on our way as we speak. As soon as we're done with this broadcast, we are out the door and we are making our way to the stock show in Denver. Safe travels, and I hear the weather is going to turn a little bit south, so stay warm as well. And now that's going to wrap it up for today. A big thanks from our crew to yours. Dr. Harold Newcomb with Merck Animal Health. Appreciate the time. Shaye Wanner with Casual Cattle Conversations. Kirk Donsback, StoneX Financial Incorporated. A big thank you goes out to our partners, ranchchannel.com. We've got about a half a dozen new listings and sale reports. Head to ranchchannel.com. Jorgensen Land and Cattle, Transova Genetics, Clear Springs Cattle Company, and their annual Bred for Balance sale coming up on Valentine's Day. Axiota Animal Health, bringing us Multimin and Lactopro. The American Gelbvieh Association. Imogene Ingredients, bringing us Farmatan. Westway Feed Products. Medora Boot and Western Wear. Allied Genetic Resources and Allied Feeding Partners. LivestockMarket.com, EquineMarket.com, AuctionTime.com. The Tri-State Livestock News, RFD TV, Wrangler, and this fine radio station. Crew, so glad y'all came with us one more time as we ranch it up. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook at Ranch It Up Show. Our email, ranchitupshow@gmail.com. And you can call and you can text 24/7. That phone number is 707-RANCH-20. That's 707-726-2420. Spread the good word and join us again next week where it's always Tigger and Beck approved. Stay ranchy and ranch it up.